everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Impact Lounge and GLAD Community and Media Program. We have a special panel today titled Beyond the Frame, Storytelling Responsibility and the Power of Shared Culture. I'm the moderator today. My name is Shar Jossel, and we're just gonna jump right into things. I'm gonna call everyone up individually, so please welcome filmmaker, writer, and creator, Lex Alexander. The president and CEO of Color Change, Nadine Smith. Iconic filmmaker. I mean, she really needs no introduction. Cheryl Dunye. And last but not least, independent producer, Yoko Komodo. Welcome. Oh, I'm gonna be positioned awkwardly because I'm gonna have to don't cheat, don't look at my questions, okay? All right, how's everyone doing this morning? Checking in, everybody in here good? Everybody up here good? Okay. So I have a few questions for you all individually and some that are for the panel. I just wanna launch into some of GLAD's research and how it has reflected and informed this panel. So, GLAD's research shows that tens of millions of Americans, LGBTQ and non-LGBTQ alike, are more likely to watch content with LGBTQ characters. From where you all sit, what feels misunderstood about this audience by decision makers?
I guess I'll start. I think for me, what's misunderstood is that just because it's a queer character doesn't mean it has to have a queer struggle. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that's my biggest thing is I like to write my films based on experiences, situation, and my characters just happen to be gay. That's just my world. But my struggle every day isn't always about me being gay. There's other things that come into factor. So I think that's the biggest misconception in my opinion.
Yeah, and I know that, you do talk about this oftentimes, and we see this critique come up in a lot of queer and trans storytelling where it's like, sometimes people just want to walk to go get a cup of coffee, and, that's typically a reflection of our everyday lives without, being called slurs and something happening on the way to get the coffee. Am I making sense? You all know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right, anybody else want to speak to that?
I want to co-sign it, and I think the other thing is that I think in the industry there are people who call it vegetables, the preachy part of the story, and that people aren't really into the vegetables anymore. They just want exciting stories, and I think watching Heated Rivalry, when you see the way people are responding, straight women are absolutely in love with it. Somebody called it consent porn, meaning they just love how much consent is going on. Gay men are finding that kind of uplifting love story.
Consent is hot.
Yeah, consent is hot. And then of course, lesbians are like, my sexuality's in shambles watching this show. So I say all that just to say that what has been the most fun part for me is watching straight men watch it as a love story and be really caught up in. There was one moment, I hope I'm not spoiling it, where there's the possibility the father's not going to be cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching the empty netters, the straight hockey guys who are reviewing it, and one of them's like, no, don't do that. I was told it wasn't going to be one of those kind of movies. Like I was not expecting this to kind of sideswipe me with trauma. And I think that's part of how we just want to experience characters who just simply get to exist in the world and have struggles that aren't related to, we're not waiting for the hate violence moment to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to think of an answer while listening to your incredible answers that I totally agree with, and I think the only thing I can add from the producer's perspective is people who we go out to with the projects that I'm working on, they're hesitant because of quote unquote risk. And I think that is such a strange way to look at it because of the projects we've been talking about, it's not, it's every project is a risk financially, so why not, invest in the ones that are made by the people who are making it for other people. Like, we're making things that we want to see out in the world and we haven't gotten to. And so, Letterboxd can show you like so many people are craving these stories that we're telling. So I think that I would love for people to kind of reframe the idea that these are risky stories to tell, financially or otherwise.
Okay, so talking about it from having worked in television, I did a couple episodes of Hunting Wives. Exactly. Now, I'll just use an example. I was like, there's only maybe 2 or 3 queer people who were involved in that. Maybe 2 of us directors were lesbian, and that's it. Now, what does that mean, right? I mean, here we are going, oh my God. So what makes something queer? What makes something popular? What is all this? What is all this fluff? What makes something, none of the people in it looked like me, it was just me, another directing job. They were performing, there's, intimacy coordinator to coordinate all this stuff. Heated Rivalry has a great intimacy coordinator, obviously. So you think about that, the construction of this disbelief, and we just want to believe. And I think that's what it is. We just want to believe in a story, and like you're saying, it just needs to feel okay, and it needs to feel sort of inclusive for a part of us. Right. So I just really look to kind of make stories like that, but for me, I have a lot of different parts, so I try to make work that fulfills all my parts when I make my own work, but when I'm working on somebody else's thing, it's not my show. Right. You want Jesus to fall on the ground and devil kick him, whatever. I don't give, it doesn't, it's your show. Give me the check, right? And so you have to kind of think about that. And then you think about the network and who owns it. It's like Clorox owns it by the end of the day. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? But my hot tub looks good, So it's like you just get caught in this loop, and where do you let yourself go? And, you have to satisfy the kind of queerness in you as a maker, and you have to satisfy the audience that you believe you're touching and fulfilling, and really being responsible about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little tricky, but I hear you.
And we mentioned Hunting Wives, we mentioned Heated Rivalry, and there's a common ground there that draws people, and I think that's important in storytelling, because not everything is like, how there's like black shows, but the audience, like it's labeled black shows, but it's really for everyone, and the same thing can apply for LGBT media. I'm curious to know though, where have you seen stories succeed in reaching audiences like A Movable Middle, for example, who are unsure how they feel about community, or who weren't already kind of like on board in their support for the LGBT community? Do you all have any just examples off the top of your head, aside from Heated Rivalry and Hunting Wives, of course?
I would say a lot of independent filmmaking right now. For me, my main, I use YouTube. It's how I've put my films out, whether people see it or not. But some of my films hit millions, and I get a lot of feedback. And for me, I get messages of old grandmas who I have a queer grandchild, and I didn't know how to communicate to them, and now I say this show, and I do. So for me, it's where I'm at. I'm in independent filmmaking, and that's, I think, where a lot of change is happening right now, because we don't have the producers to tell us what we can't do. Right. We don't have the money that restricts us. Yes. So it's like, if I'm paying, this little $500, $2,000 in my pocket, you're not about to tell me what I can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
You get to control your own
1,000%.
situation.
And I love it here. I wish I had more money, but I'm not gonna lie, I love it here.
I think we all clap if you wish you had more money. Okay. I think we all feel that way. Cheryl, you move in a very fluid type way between independent film and prestige television. Where do you see the most room right now for risk, complexity, and storytelling that doesn't necessarily like flatten queer lives? Oh, I come loaded.
Just a little softball.
I do come a little loaded.
I think in that prestige television, we're getting less and less and less of it. The stakes are higher for the shows and all that goes into it. A lot of the stuff is shot overseas or abroad. It's harder for people to get on those shows. And they have so many, metrics about who's going to watch it and what, and the edit, and how you make the cuts. And So I think there's a lot of stuff involved in that. Who they hire, how do they use that? So there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of freedom, as you're saying, in our independence.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see people say, you know, I'm tired of that boring prestige. I'm looking at some great stuff on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having fun, right? You know, I mean, I was watching on Tubi about trans fathers and men having babies, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is great, you know, and we would never, ever see that
No.
broadcast or anywhere. So, again, it's about, like, who's making it, how they're making it, where they're making it, I think, but those bigger shows, like, I don't, like, the impact that, say, Bridgerton, and I worked on Bridgerton season 2, and the Bridgerton now. I mean, people are like, you know, I mean, it's over, you know, in
Yeah.
a weird sense. So what do you do about that magic moment? And,
Yeah.
you know, she made her money, you know, and all the people made their money. Shonda made all that, right?
Yeah.
I'm still gonna make that, but, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like capturing like lightning in a bottle.
Mhm,
It's all about
mhm.
timing, but you don't know when the time is going to be the time.
Exactly.
Nadine, you're a journalist like myself by train, like trained journalist who transitioned into organizing. And are you still in Florida?
I am.
Okay, okay, let me
This is
take a
my
deep
life.
breath. Let me take a deep breath, okay. I'm curious to know, how do you assess the role of storytelling in shaping public trust, especially at a moment like right now where misinformation is thriving, and we got all the AI and stuff, you know?
Well, there are two things I would say to that. One is, it's never been more important to tell our stories. And it's never been more important to tell them authentically, not the lowest common denominator, not trying to hit that middle, because we can smell authenticity and chemistry and phoniness. And the specificity is what creates universality. You go, oh wow, I have nothing in my life is similar to this person, but I know that feeling. Right? I know what it feels like to long for, or to brush my pinky, you know, against theirs and send that electricity through my body, right? So we know the more specific we get in our stories. And that's why right now we're living in an era of extraordinary surveillance and censorship. They want to remove every image of us from school libraries, from public spaces, from rainbow crosswalks. You know, Philadelphia is suing this administration for taking down the George Washington Museum memorial about slavery.
Yeah.
And so we have to pay attention, because they will pry the door open with whoever they think is the most vulnerable, often the trans community. And once that door is open, the very first thing they did in Florida, after making a lot of noise about the trans community, was remove the life and times of Rosa Parks. We have to understand that the anti-trans messaging is the tentpole that supports it. It is the weight-bearing pillar against which they prop everything else up, and it has been that way always. And so, what I would say right now, we all have to brace for is two things. Number one, telling our stories in all of the places that we need to tell our stories, but also be aware that there's an attack on reality itself that's happening right now. Disinformation has been around for a long time, and disinformation isn't just a dumb meme. People are dead because of disinformation. It sparks violence. It will be used to engage in voter suppression. And as deepfake AIs get more and more sophisticated, we have to be aware of how they are using it. And if there hadn't been so many people filming Renee Good being shot, would we ever get to see the truth of what happened? And how quickly deepfake AIs can be created? What would they have put out? You know, Donald Trump amplified and Elon Musk amplifies disinformation all the time, especially when it is harmful to Black and brown communities and to LGBTQ communities. So I want to leave everybody with this understanding. We are moving into an era where you cannot simply forward things, regardless of whether you think it is, you know, I saw a lot of people forward the image of two New York police officers arresting ICE agents. It was completely fake. It was completely AI. But because it satisfied people in the immediate sense of that's what should happen, it went everywhere. They are simply probing to see our appetite for uncritically circulating AI. And more of it is coming. So we have to be in the mentality of not, I will take it down if it's debunked. And we have to get into a mindset of pre-bunk. I do not share it until I verify.
I'm going to follow up on that because that's really powerful. When I was a professor, I used to teach a class called media literacy, right? Where you can read, like you understand how to read this information. And every, papers to, images to, we need to really push that. Like we need to have people who are literate of how to read the codes and the messages before they make a decision. Financial, to personal, to relationships, to love, to life. And if we can be the helpful ones in all of our trades and tasks and what we do, I think that's where we start. How do we help people really read these messages better, right?
And I think that's what art reflects a lot of the times, because it taps into that compassion. To your point, like I oftentimes remind people that systems of oppression are interlocking. Because I remember, don't say gay, but in the fine print it was don't say woke. And so people went and voted for, don't say gay, but they didn't see that Rosa was leaving the schools. Malcolm, Martin are leaving the schools, And so it's definitely layered, but I think that within art, it can serve as a reflection and a reminder that, we're all people at the end of the day. Yoko, now we mentioned Tubi, we mentioned YouTube. With streaming platforms showing more growth in representation than traditional spaces, where do you see the greatest opportunities and vulnerabilities for producers right now?
Yeah. We were just talking before this panel. They were trying to convince me not to be an independent producer. But it's partially because, I've just kind of begun this process of starting to find money for bigger projects. And I think that the opportunities are in that, in community. That's a big one for me that I'm kind of finding as I go along. I started 2 years ago a monthly kind of gathering for women and non-binary and gender expansive folks of color in the film industry in New York City. And it started as the first mixer we had was maybe 20 people. And it's since grown to a community of 450 and counting. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you. And I never would have known that there's so many of us just in New York City. And there's a group of us here at Sundance. The WhatsApp group has maybe 100 people in it. But if anyone here wants to join, come find me after. But I think that is what I'm finding as a producer. Especially is all of these people that I get to meet at film festivals and see their work and there's so many of us wanting to tell these really nuanced stories and so I think that part of why I started the monthly mixer was because I was working for this white guy who sucks. Classic. I wish it was the less petty of a reason that I started this, but I really found that this man really had the ability to kind of really fake it till you make it, and he hasn't made it, but I think that there's something to that of finding people that agree with you or that want to do the same things as you. And so instead of following those people who kind of already have the natural agreement from society of oh, this guy knows what he's doing because he's white, that we don't have that privilege. And so but realizing that we actually do have our own power in our own people. And so that's what I've kind of found is there are people with money who want to support our projects, who are in these positions of wealth or privilege who want to support our projects. And so I think community is really the big it's such a buzzword at this point, but I think it really is important, and that's where a lot of the opportunity I've seen has lied. And just making our own stuff together is it's so much more fun too.
Yeah.
So
it's like creating that ecosystem where we all work together.
Exactly, and it's everybody from of course PAs to everyone to to executives or to financiers to distributors to there's so many of us in different parts of the industry that I think any opportunity we can get to gather and work together is just the best. And you can see it in the work too of people really had fun with this, or people really were intentional with the process of making this project. You can see it on the screen.
So that leads me to my next question, and this is for everyone. How do you all distinguish between visibility and meaningful presence when assessing progress? Because we've seen representation rise, we've seen it dip, we've seen it be stagnant depending on what group you're siloed into. So how do you all distinguish between visibility and meaningful presence?
I think about this as, right?
Y'all got
I
this. Go
only
ahead.
consider this, there's a Society of the Spectacle. That's a book as well by Guy Debord, and it really talks about this moment. Everything's a spectacle. Everything, every ounce of what we do is about creating this spectacle to get us away from our inner truth. And we have to be able to, know that and know how we want to be involved in the process of producing the spectacle, because that's all we can do. So I think that's the core of it a little bit, is about like knowing what shines. We love shiny things. We dance around them, we give them gifts, we kill for them. We take them in our body, we do everything. So we have to, there's this consent about how much you want to give into that spectacle or how much you don't want to give into that. So I think you really need to know what that we are being, no matter what you do, we can't get away from this spectacle that we're in. We gave it up a long time. We didn't read the consent forms. We just signed, I want this thing. And we gave it up a long time ago. So now we have to kind of deal with what we already, which is making your own work, which is standing up and talking, which is writing, it's like we have to do those things that really add to the spectacle, because we like shiny things to make it matter. And then the second thing, as I say, we live in an insular culture. We're talking right now, but what's going on in the world? What's going on in the world? We are ambassadors here of these storytellers. We need to go and take it out in the world. I love that we get numbers and hits and online, tap, hearts, likes. But there's a world out there people can't tap, right? Whatever. So we need to move beyond our borders with our stories. That's the impact, right? It's not just staying here and, oh my God, I'm in, wherever. It's like, we got to get out. And then they know we're real. When I lived abroad a couple of times, I didn't even hear the stuff about the States, really. You start thinking about it in a different way. Yeah, it's like very, very bad, but very little. And there's a whole world. And you were like, damn, there's a whole world. Yeah. Why am I only listening to this one sound when I'm here? So really engage with the global, and be a part of it, the global, all of us. That's all I have to say.
You want me to reset
Y'all
the
looking at
question?
me. You could go ahead. Yes, please.
Yeah, how do you tell the difference? How do you determine, this is your opinion, between visibility and meaningful presence when it comes to measuring progress? When you turn on the TV or whatever media, or even to Cheryl's point with predatory algorithms sometimes and these silos that we're in.
I don't know if this is the best question for me, only because a lot of things don't bother me. I mean, it sounds bad, but I see things.
Teach me.
I'll do my best. It's the Aquarius in me. This is the biggest lesson I think I've learned in life outside of filmmaking, this in general. If it's not paying my bills, it's not paying my light bill, it's not feeding me, then I can't control it. There's nothing I can do about it. So for me, it's just, okay, how can I showcase my work and kind of counteract what's happening? For me, I think in the film industry, I think there's a lack of proper representation for all of our communities, for sure. But for me specifically, for masked women, I feel like we're shown as aggressors. We're shown as wanting to be men. We're shown as wanting to take people's women, unfaithful, all of these things. And I'm not any of those things. So for me, when I'm making my work, it's more so I focus on my masked characters being women. That's who we are. That's who I am. So for me, yeah, it's just making my own stuff, not letting a lot of things bother me. Of course, there's things that are happening to my friends, and I can hold space for them as well. But also, you're going to call me as a friend if you know that you need an answer or you need something, call to action. You're not going to call me to vent, and I'm going to sit there and say, oh, my God. No, it's okay.
Call
what can
me
we
for
do
that.
next? Call Shard. Call me when you want the decision.
With you. Girl, what's going on? Go ahead.
Look, I want to take that in just a little bit of a different direction, because I think at the heart of the question is, how do we know when we're making progress that is durable? And I think what's happening in America right now is a lot of people are waking up to the handshake deal that democracy has been across the board, and it's a handshake deal that hasn't always included everyone. But the people who thought it was pretty firm for them, they're realizing these structures only held out of an agreement that they hold. And we have an administration that is happy to test all of the norms and shatter them. And we have an infrastructure that is so used to Queensberry rules of boxing that they don't know how to deal with a junkyard dog, right? And so so that's part of it.
Right.
What it also brings up is when you look back on and we say, what progress have we made? We have codified a lot of that progress in the stories that we tell, in the movies that we produce, as though that was the end of the conversation, when it's an ongoing conversation. And so right now what we're confronting is, if there are things that exist only by this sort of loose agreement, and they can be taken away, look at DEI, look at Target, look at the places where people said all of the right things in the aftermath of George Floyd's killing, and now they have backtracked, and we're watching this active, neo-segregationist backlash that we're in the midst of, this retrenchment. And so I would say this: if it is a by your leave kind of right that you're enjoying simply because no one has decided to take it away, then you don't have it. It lives in this liminal space between the aspiration to achieve it and progress from where we were. And so right now I think we have to be thinking in terms of how do we build durable structures so that it is not about the kindness of strangers or an economic decision where the math can change. So the economic decision that says you need to appeal to this audience, make more content for them, can give way to you will be punished for making that content, and there were economic downsides to it, so you stop making that content. So we have to build the infrastructure to create those things. And the last thing I'll say on this is we also have to understand that change has always emerged from cultural space first. And there's a danger in us stripping the political function from the cultural space. And I hope that what we are learning right now is that there can be no difference. So, Color of Change is not just a political organization fighting for these things. It is part of the culture of a community that has to embrace storytelling, controlling narrative, engaging, so that when we build power, it is something that cannot be shaken.
There you go.
Phenomenal answer. Phenomenal. You don't want to follow that.
That's, I can.
I'm not going to do that to you.
We can take a collective breath.
I'm not going to do that to you, because yeah, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to set you up like that. Final question before we open it up to you all for some Q&A. I'm going to read some statistics really quickly from GLAAD, because LGBTQ cultural and economic influence is, I think, bigger than people would expect, with $1.4 trillion in estimated consumer spending power. LGBTQ audiences over-index as influencers in TV shows, movies, gaming, 46%, 38%, 51%. If LGBTQ audiences leverage this much influence and power, what do you all think the disconnect is when it comes to the decision makers versus the consumer? Because to your earlier points, people do want to see themselves reflected back to them. So what do you think the disconnect is in I guess, working against that, like the main one?
It's like the SATs.
You go last. I'm sorry, Cheryl. This is,
If anybody in the
I'll
room
take a stab.
I didn't know there was going to be math.
Well, no, because those percentages, they matter. Like because people don't know the cultural and influential, like the weight that we hold in the power. Go ahead, Lex.
For me, I think my first answer is old filmmaking versus new filmmaking.
Right.
And I feel that we're at that middle stage where we're still stuck with some of these executives and this power that hasn't been shaken yet. And then we have these new filmmakers that are like pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think in, some time, they're not going to be there anymore. And it's going to be us. But it's one of those, we're not there yet. But I think we're at the cusp, to be quite honest.
And they're unwilling. They're like, you got to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
Yes, and it's going to happen, unfortunately, RIP, but I'll be ready.
Well, I'm hopeful that this time in this industry is an opportunity to start something new, where like we give ourselves the kind of power to say, like we were talking about, like greenlighting our own projects, and so that's my hope is as I'm kind of talking to people at this festival, but in terms of the disconnect itself, it's really. It's just
you need money to greenlight.
Exactly.
And if they have the money, like that's what. Let's dig into that.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have much time, but
I know.
That's what I'm saying.
Seeing the clock run. But I think conversations that I'm having with my collaborators is like, where is there money outside of the film industry? Because the people that we've been talking to at these traditional financing companies, what we've been taught in film school to look for money, like these people are not, even if the numbers show otherwise, and maybe this will change with projects, but for me, I grew up on Tumblr. Like we've been engaging with queer media since like our early preteen years, and so I've always known that the desire is there, and so I think if anybody in this room has a lot of money and wants to put it into QPSC projects, we would love to talk to you.
I just stuck around, and I think about sticking around and sticking to your principles and making your work, because I'm an Audre Lordian. Are there any other Audre Lordians in this room? Raise your hand, okay?
I'm a sister outsider.
Right. I mean, come on, go back. I mean, we need to read again. Take a book. See how long it takes you to read a book. But read it and finish it and read another one. But there's books to read. There are lists of people who've already done this and gone through the struggle before, right? We're back again. Audrey was at it in the 50s when she was dealing with all this stuff. I mean, did you know that she was in thruples in the 50s and hanging out like wild in New York? Wilding. So, I mean, again, all of them. I mean, the thing is, there's so much that we don't know. Those are the stories. Those are the things we need to tell about. But again, the cycle is just repeating itself. And I guess for me, if you stick around long enough, they'll give you the keys. So you just have to figure out your modes of survival. And the only way I figured it out is community and education. I mean, I've been an educator, but I have not veered away from, in my own storytelling, making my stories and putting the leads to look like me. I mean, I had to say no to some people who don't look like me who want to be in those roles. I had to say no, and I know there's some people I'll never work with that are the big thing. Oh well. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's more important to stick to your principles, and you have a community, and you're satisfying it, and those numbers will be impactful in their own way for you, right? I mean, those numbers are just scary things. I mean, they are scary things. I don't even know how people come up with some of these things, and we look at them and they mean something, but it's also to categorize and scare us, and oh my God, no, and then we forget about doing the work because we're trying to deal with the numbers. So do your work. Write your book, journal, breathe, walk around, rest your mind and soul and spirit, and connect with people. It's really about this room. If you look to your left, look to your right, that's your community, or vice versa, left, right, whatever it is. These are the people who are going to make your work, who are your community, right? We're going to leave here with a connection that you got to utilize and take to the next level and stick with it. Why not? You look and worry about the numbers. You're going to turn on what I'm saying? You got to move on. And you got to know about the numbers are there, and they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there, but they should not stop you.
And the goalpost will always move.
Oh, and they'll always move.
Yeah.
But if you're making your work, or if you're doing your work, then you're doing your work, The personal is political. If you're doing it, you're doing it, right? So stick to your guns. Your intuition is the only thing you should believe. Right. Your intuition is the only. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. No's a good answer.
My favorite.
And at the beginning of our careers, we all say yes. All black and brown people, no matter what their colors are, we say yes. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be right up there, cause I never got that. And we do so much work for no reason when we realize everybody's sitting back at the pool and we're there sludging it off in the thing. So say no, see what that does, right?
Shoot. Yeah, give her an applause. You wanna close us out? Or you good?
Yeah, here we go.
Wait, I got caught up. I got lost in the sauce just then. Tell me the question.
I was just saying, like, when it comes to like the groundswell of audiences and the influence and the disconnect with the people at the quote unquote top.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I think. I think right now we are living in a blockbuster framework in a Netflix world. Like the whole paradigm for how things get made, how they get built, is tipping, and it will happen slowly and then suddenly all at once. And that, I have a 14-year-old son. We stayed at a hotel. He turned on the television and turned it off. He's like, commercials? What is that? Like he wanted no part. He wanted no part of it. Right? And so for him, his world is gaming. He's got some VTubers that he's really, has a parasocial relationship with, and the rest of it is, very meme driven. He likes stories that he can follow that are short form, right? And so I just think that, be careful not to build your strategy around a structure that doesn't hold and follows rules that won't exist very long. And and I am much older than my son, and yet I feel the same way. I don't watch television. I don't stream most of the services. More people will know what does the owl mean? The owl thing that sounds like. There we go. Right? If you don't know what we're talking about, then you probably have a healthy life balance. But the reality is where we get our information. We're not sitting down for the 6 and 10 o'clock news. We're not watching commercials. Even the streaming services. There's so many of them that we're not subscribing to all of them. So there can be a great award-winning show on one channel, but you never watch it because you've already committed to whatever you committed to, right? So I'm just saying, in the transition that is happening, that we are undergoing, that is showing up in our politics, it's also showing up in our culture, and make sure you have not cemented yourself on a path that won't exist by the time you are ready to take your place in it.
Receive.
Now I have like 8 more questions, but we don't have time. I think we have time for 2 questions, 2 really quick ones. You go ahead.
Firstly, thank you so much for this talk. It's been incredible, and Shar, you're like a brilliant moderator. I don't think this is on, but I can just project. This question is more geared towards Cheryl and Yoko. I'm thinking a lot about emerging like incubators and programs, and like Anarchists United, which was started by Lily Mikowski, and has like Bruce Ryder involved, and obviously Cheryl, you have your production company, Town Films, and like I know you're a very big supporter of emerging talent in the Bay, and like young filmmakers of color. I'm still structuring the question as I go along, and I'm trying to make it a quick question, but I guess I'm curious, like, with these programs and incubators emerging, do you feel like we have the resources within like these spaces to sustain ourselves, or are we still reliant on like a Netflix incubator? And like, I guess maybe just, it's kind of an open-ended question, but if you could just speak to like what ways that is sort of, to Shar's question, like building the infrastructure that we need to sort of be autonomous with our storytelling, or if they're, because of how expensive filmmaking has always been and is still incredibly expensive endeavor, are we still reliant on like these larger structures and resources? I hope that makes sense.
What kind of filmmaking?
I guess independent filmmaking, and I guess
What kind of independence? I mean, we have to think about that because the independence that some of us are making on this panel here, we're free. I'm free as a bird, you know what I'm saying, right? So, but the independence where you want to cross over and meet more people and use this commercial thing and, try to get in, I'm standing next to Sean Penn, all this bullshit. Dream, baby, dream. I mean, that should, like, that's, what's dream is that, right? So I think you have to kind of figure out what you're doing. I mean, if you, like, Anarchists United wants to break that structure up, Lily and team, and it's just not Lily, it's like, a whole bunch of folks who are trying to do something different, .orgs instead of, whatever. Let's be a .org where we can, Also, the education systems are changing. I realized, how many people, like, your school's gone. I'm in Northern California in the Bay Area. Our last college just closed for art. California College of the Arts now closed. They got they got 20 million from Invita, and now it's gone. Oh, there you go, 60, 70. I'll say 80. You know what I'm saying? It's gone. It's gone. No more art teaching and education. So we now need to step up and be educators. You know what I'm saying? So we'll teach. We'll have our own things, and we'll have our own structures and our own outlets. We can make it happen. And so we have to sort of feel in our hearts again how to okay, it's not going to be at Sundance, but it will be somewhere else. And there's a million places for us to be and feel satisfied with that. And we have to understand that's okay. If it happens to be in Sundance, it does. If it doesn't, it's somewhere else where it matters. And you have to really, what's going to be more impactful, right? I'm questioning a lot about that commercial success. I'm questioning does that mean anything? Really? You can't take it with you.
Yeah, I think you said it all, but just to add that I think we need to be questioning who's in charge of these places that we deem important or the most highest level of success. I think it's time to rethink that. Let's look at regional festivals. Let's look at communities, people in your communities. What are we wanting to do, and can that be, and how do we want to do it, with who? I think these are the most important questions. And I've never gotten into a lab or fellowship or incubator. I've applied to so many, never gotten in, but at a certain point you just have to go make your thing. And if you have the support of these folks who are, I've been very lucky to have mentors who have supported me along the way, and so you just have to seek out those people.
And you can rent a camera. And you can make mistakes. And you can make mistakes again and again and again. You will. And you can do it, and you can do it again and again. And that's the only way you learn. So you gotta go, that's what you have to do. You have to step up to your own bar and jump. Jump into the abyss.
Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Julia. From the 19th, we report on gender. When leading, you a lot of movement emerges from culture, from art. How could we be reporting on or shining a light on the politics of art and culture better or more different?
Yeah, I think it's a follow the money kind of thing. You brought up the economic power of LGBTQ people, but it goes beyond that. It's the Black community and the LGBTQ community shape culture in so many different ways. And the moment we create things at that intersection, particularly, how quickly it's extracted and appropriated, right? And so, following where culture is and how the power of it gets dissipated. Most of these things that emerge from these spaces that are both Black and LGBTQ emerge in response to creating power in the absence of it, right? And so so appropriation isn't just stealing the wealth of it. It changes it and weakens it. The Black Panthers started with free breakfast for a reason. It was a way to address the material needs that people have, and you can organize on a full belly, and you can start asking questions. And once that program became a federal program instead of a community-based program, it changed the relationship. And so I would say there are a lot of things, there's a way of covering what is emerging from culture, what's emerging online, what kind of voices are emerging. And I talked about deepfake a little while ago. So if you know who Conscious Lee is, he's been a strong ally around LGBTQ issues. He brings a racial justice lens to his work. And he showed a video of himself wearing his favorite sweater in his own living room selling, I think it was erectile dysfunction pills, a thing he's never done. But you're watching him watch it, and he's like, friends showed me that they've completely spoofed my site. And it looked very credible. It looked just like him. Now that is a fairly benign use of that technology. But the tsunami of deepfakes that are coming will absolutely appropriate the voices and images of leading voices in our community to deliver messages that are harmful to us. That's a place where I think there hasn't been nearly enough reporting.
I think that's all the time we have for questions, I think. Oh, we have time for one more. Yay, okay, you right there.
Okay, so, hi, I'm Nadira Foster Williams. I'm an actor, writer, and visual artist. And listening, I think this is such a generative space, like, and even impact what it's doing for the time that we have here is really empowering. So I feel like just generatively, I'm thinking very much about the indigenous programming that's happening after this as well. Because we are on stolen land. And we're not talking about that as much in every panel that's happening. Or there's a nameless statue, you know, on Main Street of an indigenous man, but we're here because of Robert Redford. And I think I'm creating work right now around Black and Indigenous relations and how, in terms, when we talk about money and funding, this is blood money that we are reappropriating. And when we think about visibility and who we're co-creating with, I think it's so easy to snub each other in these conversations, and the power that we have, not just in some of the contexts we're talking about, but in how is our cultural allyship that much more important, because what Black and Indigenous people can do together goes beyond the numbers that we might represent to conjure real discord and change. So I just had to say that. That wasn't very much a question. What do you think about that?
You know, my only thought is that my wife was born in Tijuana, and she's Mexican, and she says, you know what, the stories that we all are worried about are just black and white, and we don't tell enough of other stories. And what work are we doing to help those other stories be out there? Because it's it's a black and white world, and it's not a black and white world. So we really need to actually maybe commit ourselves to some other kind of storytelling than our own. I mean, because of my partnership, not even because of that, because where I live, because the room right now, I must say, looks like the room that I want to always be in. Commend yourselves, because it's not easy to get this type of room and for your work. You know, it's either one where it's either black or white, right? So let's kind of figure out how to keep the room looking like the way you want the room to look and saying the things you want to do. I don't know, there's no answer or anything like that, but we got to be more inclusive. And again, we have to be more global. Global. It's all connected.
But wouldn't that also take coalition building, meaningful coalition building, and for people to also interrogate biases and anti-blackness? And it's so layered, in my opinion. Right. I know I'm not a panelist, but you know.
No, go take it. But again, I mean, again, we can look at the work of Audre Lorde. We can look at many other people who did that coalition work already. Yeah. And we're just reinventing the wheel. Oh my God, so we need to.
Fragile coalition.
It's fragile coalition, but the archive is there. The archive is there, and we need to kind of use the archive, and I love an archive, right? Obviously, you know that, but we need to use the archive. We need to use the archive. We don't need to be archived. We need to make sure that we're telling all those stories, and you see how that goes. So I think that's really important, is to kind of make sure you're using the archive. And the last thing is this crazy thing that's floating in my head. I don't know why it came up. I don't know if anybody was able to afford to go to a WNBA game this year. Anybody? And I was just thinking about the stud buds. All right, I don't know what people would think about them. I don't know the conversation, and I don't know about that community there. But whenever I went to a game, because I did get to go to a couple games, I was like, who are these people in this room? It was a room filled with so many people from every walk of life coming to see women play sports, right? And I was like, wow, everybody. And I was like, damn, what happened? So I don't know how to make that. Maybe this is the thing that's happening with Tita rivalry or whatever. But it's
yeah, it is.
It's what's happening with. It's like, wow, we found a thing that could make us all connect. And if it's basketball, I mean, the stud buds, right? You know, they're having people dye their hair.
Those the parties.
Right, it was having to dye their hair pink as two, you know, sisters who are friends who are just making the change, talking about their period and this and that, everything. And I was like, God damn, what? You know, so I just think about that, like, it's bigger, and they're new communities. They're based on the old. We can't forget about the old, but we have to know that it's more than just, you know, it's the land that we stand on that needs to be fed, that needs to kind of grow a kind of different tree that's been there before with the seeds that, you know, it's a whole bunch of, you know, it's a soup. And I love a good soup right now, right? Right? See? We are the soup. Make some soup, everybody. That's all I say.
Does anybody else want to weigh in? Because I'm about to close it out. Anybody else? We good? All hearts and minds are clear? All right, one last round of applause for our amazing panelists. Phenomenal. I got to connect with all of you. I connected with you and YouTube. Okay, I love that. Oh, that's a prolonged applause. I love that. I felt like Whoopi for a moment. Like, okay.
You are.
So please stay seated because Deshaun Usher and Julian Walker, they have something to say to y'all. They run. They're responsible for all of this. They run this.
Come over here.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it might be afternoon now, but good afternoon to everybody, and thank you all for coming on behalf of GLAAD. We're super grateful for this partnership that we have with the Impact Lounge. And thank you to our incredible moderator, Shar. So please, if we can give you a round of applause for moderating such a thoughtful conversation, an intentional conversation. So let's give you your roses and flowers now. Yes, and to each of the panelists, thank you all also for like your words, your contributions. Literally, you talked about soup, and every time somebody said something, it felt like we were sipping on some, but a lot of So I just want to say my name is Deshaun Usher. I'm the Vice President of Community and Media here at GLAAD. We would love to keep these conversations and connections going. We're accessible. My email literally is dsusher@glaad.org. If anyone wants to get in contact with me or the team, or we'll make sure it gets to the right people. If you ever have any trouble trying to access anybody or anything at GLAAD, just let us know, and we will try to funnel you to the right people. And I'm going to throw it to Julian.
Yes. Thank y'all again so much for being here within the space. And I also want to take some time, if you're a part of GLAAD or work at GLAAD, can you please raise your hand? Yeah, so can we please give the GLAAD team a round of applause? Yes. So as you all were entering, did you all receive one of these? All right, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. I work with a call and response, so I'm gonna try one more time. Did anybody receive one of these? Yes, okay. And the reason why I'm drawing so much attention to this is that these conversations are important, but also the research is important. At GLAAD, not only do we work in the realms of entertainment, but we also capture the data that aligns with where we are on television. Studio Responsibility Index. A big role within our department also is eradicating HIV stigma, which needs a lot of work and needs a lot of love. But there's additional reports that we have done within the organization. And so on this report card, I'll say, you have a QR code on there, and so please scan the QR code. Please take a moment to look into the research as you're building your stories, as you're navigating your stories, as you're creating your stories. This is important data to include to ensure that you're accurately telling these stories, accurately depicting the characters that are living with HIV or that are marginalized individuals within the community. Because the more information that the community sees, the more that they will understand the work that needs to be done. I'm gonna say one last thing. Deshaun used to say, how many of you watch like Law and Order or have watched Law and Order? There we go. And so if you are anything like me on a good Saturday, you will cuddle up in bed and just watch reruns or now stream, I guess. But how many individuals within this world are watching episodes that are outdated, that are telling stories of individuals that are living with HIV? So now, if those individuals are storytellers, they're going to take that same information from that 1997 episode, and Lil Ray Ray now gonna have, or somebody else gonna, just have some information that does not align with where we are right now. So please, please, please take some time to scan these QR codes and just read into the research, look into the data, and really share this with community. Because this is how we move the needle. This is how we reach individuals that need to be reached. So I really, really, really appreciate y'all being here with us today. Was there anything else to include?
Nikki, did you want to say something? Or you was looking at that? You got, all right.
Well, once again, y'all, thank you so much. Thank you. And happy Sundance. Yes. And thank you, Impact Lounge.